Well, good morning, YouTubers. An addendum, something that's bothered me a bit about all these Marian visions that demand penance, particularly in the case of Fatima. There's this constant refrain of doing penances for other people, for mankind, by some kind of sacrificing pleasure. The kids, for example, in Fatima would do something like if there's some food that they liked, do not eat that and eat something else, and much more severe things elsewhere. And this was not presented in the form of discipline to get one's own flesh under control, but one is doing penance for others. Now, like paying off a bill for them or something. It seems to me, it's always bothered me a little bit because there's certainly fasting and prayer, and a certain amount of self-mortification, to discipline yourself, to purify yourself, not as a masochistic thing, but to get the flesh under control. And the flesh, a lot of it is strictly spiritual issues. A lot of what St. Paul calls the flesh is matters that there's the obvious stuff like wrong desires that would, if played out in action, be sexual or violent, that would involve the body. But there are other things, the dimensions of the flesh, that are almost totally an invisible realm, and all evil originates in the realm of the spirit. The body is a tool, and even its natural desires are like there are things you choose whether to pursue or not, and they have functions. It is in the realm of the person's spirit or soul. There's some distinction between soul, spirit, and body, but it's like nefesh, the term for the soul in Hebrew, covers both the entirety of the being's life, its spirit, soul, and body, and also the immediate, obvious, immortal part that goes on after death. It's like there's a spectrum, and the denser end is sloughed off at death, and you go on in a truncated condition. In the ancient world, this is seen as a sort of a gray state, with some concept of there being Elysian fields for the very, very good, which was more like a normal kind of sense of aliveness, I guess. And perhaps there were people among them who had some memory or some concept of the Most High God, and Paul says that God had sort of overlooked the idolatries of the heathen. And there's a tradition that the righteous among the pre-Christians and non-Israelites had been rescued by Jesus during his descent to hell, the harrowing of hell. St. Paul refers to him descending in the depths of the earth in a mausoleum kind of tomb, in an above-ground cave is hardly the depths of the earth. So this must refer to what later became called the harrowing of hell that the Protestants tended to ignore. And St. Peter makes two remarks, one a kerygma, one evangelion, about these announcements made down there. But back to the penance issue, the evil in a person originates in the realm of their spirit and their choices. But here is we talk about sacrifices, okay? These are our gifts to God, made sacred, making sacred to God. And in a certain sense, yes, as the Protestants say, we are all saints that are sanctified to God, and we're supposed to act like it. And then there were those who were esteemed as especially obviously sanctified to God and Him working in them, and they were really devoted to Him, and these ones are called, quote, saints, unquote. But anyway, I stumbled on something the other day in reading through Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America page, the goarch.org, and they have the daily readings. And an epistle from St. Paul to the Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 16, it says, through him, that is Jesus, then let us continually offer up a sacrifice of praise to God, that is the fruit of lips that acknowledge his name. And then it also says, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. Now, obviously, if you fast and pray, and you do without to some extent, and the things or even to a large extent, and the things you also make a point of not clinging to things that are worldly desire type stuff, and you give away food, money, and clothing to various people, and you're more able to do this by your fasting, this would be a relevant, suitable sacrifice. But the kind of almost masochistic mortification that seems to be a feature of some of these Marian visions and some of the people who pursued such strikes me as being a little bit off-center here. I'm not sure that they benefited anyone, obviously, and sure it did some good in terms of, I suppose, theoretically it would at least, in terms of getting themselves under control and all that, and the kind of discipline, like if you just, keep on falling into some bad pattern of thought, aversion therapy, smack your own arm hard enough to feel it hurt, or something like that, like a teacher smacking with a ruler or something, in the old days when they could do that. And it's a way of training yourself away from it. And also, it would be, some punishment for your own deviation, so that, we would judge ourselves and God would not have to judge us, says Paul, and I forget where that's at exactly in the epistles right now. But the main thing is here, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. Now the focus here is on pleasing God by doing good things and sharing with and helping other people. And this is a sacrifice, a gift to him, to God. So, this is what bothers me about these Marian visions. They don't talk about alms so much as self-torture. That bothers me.